Hi, I'm Dr. RonLaura, Professor in Education at the University of Newcastle in beautiful sunny Australia. I'm here doing a virtual presentation for you in a collaborated effort with Truong Heng, who is from Vietnam. And she is one of our doctoral students here under my supervision. You will hear from her later. And at any rate, the title of the paper that we are providing for the conference, which you'll have an opportunity to read in full later, is called Computechnology, Are We Too Plugged In? So in this particular case, what's going to happen is that we're going to look and indeed follow the format of the piece by giving you the structure, the structural theme. And the first part of it is that we have a bizarre contradiction in that there is a form of knowledge in our community that is within the context of education and dominant within our society, to which we've paid far too little attention and understanding at a deeper level what it's really all about. So in our universities and schools, for example, we're very quick to do everything we can to turn our teaching students into excellent transmitters of knowledge. The reason we do this is understandable, because whatever else education may be, and we may disagree on lots of points and agree on others, but one point in which we all seem to agree, that whatever else knowledge is, it at least involves the transmission of knowledge. So, we obviously have a commitment to preparing teachers for the profession to ensure that they transmit knowledge as well as anyone could, so that the learning community has the best example of what good teaching is and what quality scholarship is, as expressed within that modality of pedagogy. However, what's interesting is that although we endeavor to turn our teachers into excellent, outstanding, if you like, transmitters of knowledge, the paradox is that we do very little at all to help them understand at a deeper level what knowledge itself actually is. Our argument attends to that tension. And what we're going to argue is that upon deeper reflection, the concept of knowledge is very significant with respect to propagating a covert ideology within the context of education. It's not something it is generally understood or indeed talked about, and therefore our effort is to fill that hiatus, that gap, by providing reflection that we believe will help others to understand the importance of what we're actually doing when we transmit the kind of knowledge we transmit. Now, generally, knowledge is thought to be value-free. That is to say, knowledge is neither good nor bad in itself. Similarly, we think, and generally the view is, that technology is neither good nor bad. It's just how you use knowledge that will make it good or bad, and it's just how you use technology that will make it good or bad. This is exemplified very well by bumper stickers that you often see in the United States and elsewhere, which say, guns don't kill people, people kill people with guns. The idea being that a gun is neutral, it's harmless in itself. It's only when it's used improperly that it becomes bad. And it can be used, presumably, for good as well. Now, we want to argue that though there is a truth represented in that is to say that one's intention and the real consequence of the intention will make a difference as to whether the act, the use of the gun, is good or bad. So there is a sense in which intention clearly shapes the nature of the value of what it is that happens when we use technology or indeed make use of knowledge. The problem is that although that represents a truth, we believe it doesn't represent the whole truth. We believe and argue in the paper that in fact knowledge itself is motivated by our obsession in this culture, in Western culture in particular, and cultures elsewhere now around the world, with power. Knowledge is tantamount to power. So essentially what's happening is that what we regard as a form of knowledge carries with it a presuppositional value associated with power and dominance and control. The idea is that knowledge is a way of controlling our environment. And we think that's a good thing. But in general, that is, our society thinks it's a good thing. But in general, we haven't reflected very hard on the transformations that take place when indeed that ideology is propagated. We believe that there is another paradox of interest, and that is that with respect to our technology, the technology of machines and compute technology, which we're talking about in particular, we believe that there is a paradox in that we anthropomorphize the computer and our machines generally, while dehumanizing ourselves. So, for example, when we talk about a computer and it's slow to get going in the morning, we become very forgiving and talk about the computer as if it is a machine. And we talk about how it needs to have a little bit of leisure time in order to get going. On the other hand, when we talk about human beings, we compliment them presumably, and I use the term advisedly here, compliment, when we say that he or she works like a machine, or indeed carry with it in saying that the implication that he or she should work like a machine. We often say things like, get with the program, get connected, all things which reflect the extent to which we are dehumanizing individuals in treating them more like machines, but at the same time being forgiving of our machines in treating them more like humans. Now, carried with that then, in terms of the concept of knowledge, is the next point, and that is that the ideology which is propagated is tied to this value that we claim knowledge has. And in essence, when you look around the room I'm in, I'll just stand back a little, maybe you could see a little more of it, I'm not sure, but virtually everything in this room is a technologized item by way of which we gain control. So if you look around, the chairs, the tables, they're all made up of synthetic things. As a consequence of that, virtually everything around, that disposition to transform the living world into a world we can control and have it adapt to us, it means that there's artificial light, artificial heating, laminated wood, and so on, all of which are artificial. Now, they're not just artificial. They're chemicalized, lifeless, inert things. And we surround ourselves quite willingly with those things because they're controlled environments, without noticing that by virtue of surrounding ourselves with lifeless and dead things, we ourselves can easily become lifeless and deadened. There is this transformation that we talked about, whereby we treat our machines more like humans and humans more like machines, is part and parcel of the way in which the ideology of the technologies of power have transformed our world in ways which depersonalize, dehumanize, and desanctify the environment in which we live. And we think that education has a clear commitment to understand these presuppositions better, so that what we transmit in our schools is truly worth transmitting and knowing. Thank you.